It is the last Monday of the month of September, and the NFL decided to grace us one more time with a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. So, who are we not to take bets in it? I've got a best bet in each of the games for you guys. This is the free three. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we just try to get to the bag together and we're trying to make that money. Over the weekend, you guys know how the Monday show goes. It's a little bit longer from a recap standpoint because we got to cover Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not too bad of a weekend, but it definitely wasn't our best weekend. On Friday, we went 1-2. We were able to cash in on Cam Ward's passing yards, but we did lose on our nerfy of the day. And then Washington on the money line. They had multiple chances to tie that game, win that game against Rutgers. So that was a tough loss, even though I do think that Washington did play the better game. Shout out to Rutgers for getting that done. On Saturday, I gave you guys our quick Saturday college football blitz. 4-2 on the day, and our two losses, I can't even be mad at it. Dylan Gabriel's pass yards, we took over 288.5. He finished with 280. If it wasn't a blowout, he probably would have gone over the number. I also took Georgia on the money line, but like I said, I was boots on the ground. I was in the building, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Such an amazing atmosphere, and I won't lie to you. I'm not upset that Alabama won that game because I didn't want to see all those fans go home upset. It was an amazing performance, but there was also live opportunities. You could have literally hedged and taken Georgia at plus 21, at plus 20, plus 17. Like, there were so many different chances that you could have gotten Georgia at. So even though we lost on the money line, that was tough. But Navy team total, Navy spread, Josh Hoover's pass yards, Washington State and Boise over, all of those were no sweats. We were able to get that done. So 4-2 on Saturday. And then yesterday we went 2-3 officially. We were able to cash in on the Ravens on the Sunday Night Football matchup and Brock Purdy's pass yards. But our 12 o'clock slate, oh man, that just killed us. We lost on the Jets and Colts teaser. I think everybody lost on the Jets yesterday. Shout out to them. Terrible franchise. And then we also lost on the Eagles and Bucks under. Eagles could not stop Bathwater if they wanted to. And then Sam Darnold, his pass attempts, we finished about 3 or 4 pass attempts short. He got his yards, but he was able to not get under the pass attempts. So that was tough. 7-7, a full weekend recap there. So no harm really done besides maybe the juice that you laid yesterday. But overall, not too bad. You can see our year-to-date record still 18 games over 500 for the month of September. Our goal is to maybe get 2 more wins today, maybe a full sweep on the card, and then we could be celebrating tomorrow, the last day of September, another great winning month here on the channel. If you haven't been subscribed to the channel, if you've been meeting me when we've been out here at these different stadiums, man, I appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button, and we're going to have new content, new reels, new videos on the way for you guys here on the channel, so stay up to date on all the latest things that we've got dropping. Now let's dive into these winners for this Monday Night Football matchup for today. For our first best bet of the day, we're going to go to the Lions and Seahawks matchup. That's truthfully the only game on the card that I care about. I don't care about the Titans and the Dolphins game. That game is poverty. We know that Will Levis, he's garbage. He's starting for the Titans. I'll break down that game in a little bit more detail because I do have a player prop in that game. But when we go look at this Lions and Seahawks matchup, I'm not overthinking it here. We are going to go with the Lions, minus 3.5, minus 115 odds. Yes, I know it's at minus 4 on certain books, but I will pay for that hook juice there because 4 is a key number in football. Yes, 3 is that field goal key number, but so is 4 when you have that touchdown extra point. You cannot overlook some of these numbers that we're getting here, guys, because this is the time of the season where teams are winning by 2 points. They're winning by 5 points. They're winning by 3 points. So you really need to make sure that you're getting the numbers here. And I really like the Lions in this matchup. This is more of a fade on the Seahawks than it is a play on the Lions. Now, are the Lions the better team? Yes. Is this a good matchup for them? Yes. And the reason why I like them in this matchup is because when you look at the Lions record, yes, they're 2-1, but they're really 1 possession away from starting off this season 3-0. And that's what I really like to back when you have teams in that type of position. When you look at the schedule thus far for the Lions, they started off the year with a 26-20 win against the Rams. They lost game 2 against the Buccaneers. They went on the road to the Cardinals last week against Arizona, was able to get the win. And now they're back home against a Seahawks team that truthfully has not been that tested. I know they're 3-0 on the year, but look at their 3 wins. The first win was against a Bo Nix-led team in his first professional NFL start. and they only won that game 26-20, so one possession game. Their next start against the Patriots, against Jacoby Brissett, who does not seem that he can move that offense at all down the field. They gave up 20 points to them, and it took an overtime win for them to win 23-20. And then in their last start against the Dolphins, 24-3 win, but can we take that with a grain of salt? Why? Because Skylar Thompson got hurt in that matchup. Obviously, no Tua in that matchup. So for them, they were really going against like a third string quarterback there and Tim Boyle for about half the game, and they won that game pretty handily. They only scored 7 points in the second half after jumping out to a hot start. So it's some of those reasons why I don't think that the Seahawks are really the better team here. They just got favored with a really nice start to the schedule, and as a result, they're going into a tough environment here in Detroit at home. Keep in mind, the Tigers just clinched a wild card spot to make the playoffs as well, so that city is just rocking from a sports perspective. And I think in a primetime matchup, we know what Geno Smith can do at times, and I just don't think that he's the answer right now against a Lions team that is really, really dialed in. I think the big difference in this game is going to be not only the disparity that we have between these two teams from the quarterback standpoint. I think Jared Goff is obviously the much better quarterback than Geno Smith, but it's also this prospective run games for both of these teams. The Seahawks might get back Kenneth Walker, which will be a big pickup for the team, as Zach Charbonnet has been the guy who's been running the ball over the last few weeks for them. And if you look at the way that Seahawks like to run their offense, they like to normally run kind of like a zone concept when running the ball. They did this very heavily last year, and even with this new staff, they're continuing it this year. And the problem with that is when you have big defensive linemen who can fill in those gaps, and you don't have the offensive line that can really get the push and really open up those running lanes, then guess what happens? You don't really get a lot of explosive plays. When you look at it, the Seahawks are right now the lowest team in the country in terms of yards per carry. The Seahawks are a team that do like to run the ball, but when you look at it, when they're running that zone concept, they're facing a Lions defense that, guess what, are the number one team in the NFL when it comes down to allowing the least yards per carry against zone concepts. And then when you look at the offense for the Lions, they're a team that likes to score the ball when they're at home. If you look at some of their numbers since 2022, they're averaging about 22 points per game on the road, but meanwhile at home, 31 points per game. On the road, their red zone efficiency is about 58%. At home, 74%. So that literally tells you how much this team fares and how much better they do at home. And this is a team that, keep in mind, they were one possession away, really a second half away from getting to the Super Bowl last year. They returned a lot of their key pieces, and as a result, I'm not overthinking it. And I was looking at a few numbers from a system standpoint. Right now, the Lions are 8-1 in primetime games against the spread since 2022. They're 14-6 against the number at home against the spread, and also 17-8 against the number as favorites at home since 2022. So those are all numbers that give you confidence to say, you know what, I know we're a little bit over this field goal number, but I'm willing to back the Lions here at 3.5 points. And for me, this is just a team that is just a much better team here. Don't overthink it. Give me the Lions -3.5 here at home, prime time. I think there's a lot of question marks surrounding the Seahawks team until we see them beat a top caliber team, which they have not played just yet. I'm not willing to lay this number, especially with them being on the road. If the Lions started off this season 3-0, or the Seahawks had lost one of their starting games, this is easily a 5.5, 6-point spread like we saw yesterday with the Jets, like we saw with the 49ers. That's a little bit more of what I'm expecting to see here from this team. I think the Lions win this game handily. Give me the 3.5 numbers, our first pick of the day. So because I think the Lions are going to win this game, because they have the better offense, because they have the more explosive weapons, there's one guy that I'm going to isolate today, and that's Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm going to go with his longest rush over 14.5 yards, -110 odds. Now, if you want to take his longest reception as well, I'm not opposed to that, but Jahmyr Gibbs is a guy that we love to take this line on. This is a bet that cashed in for us literally consistently week after week after week last year. And if you look at the numbers this year, his longest rush last week against the Cardinals, 18 yards. His week before that against Tampa Bay, 24 yards. Yes, in that start against the Rams, his longest rush was only 8 yards, but when you look at the Seahawks defense and some some of the teams that they played. Last week, Devon Achane, his longest rush was 13 yards. So just right under this, but I guarantee you that this is a Lions team that's going to run the ball way more than the Miami Dolphins did last week. The Dolphins Achane only got 11 carries, and one of those carries got 13 yards, so that gives me the confidence to take it. In game 2 against the Seahawks, Antonio Gibson had a run for 45 yards, and then Ramondre Stevenson had a run for 18 yards. So 2 of their top running backs went over this total. And then in game 1, Bo Nix had a carry for 23 yards, and Jaleel McClellan had a carry for 15 yards. Audric Estime had a carry for 12 yards. So literally 2 of the 3 key ball carriers for the Broncos went over this total as well. So because of that, there's a lot of question marks around this Seahawks defensive line. How is the push that they're going to get? They're about middle of the pack in terms of opponent rushing yards per game. So I'm not opposed to just taking Jahmyr Gibbs' rushing line, or I'm not opposed to taking David Montgomery's as well. But I think that this is a game where Gibbs is going to be able to break one. I'm taking his longest rush over 14.5 yards. It's been a bet that's hit very consistently here on the channel. And for Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm running it back today at home. Give me this as our second pick of the day. For our third and final best bet, we are going to go to that Titans and Dolphins matchup. There's a lot of things that I'm looking at here. I do lean towards the under in that game, as I do think that both of those offenses are a little bit weak, it's a little bit stagnant. And I think that this is a game that Will Levis does have the opportunity to show a little something other than just kind of the throwing the ball all over the place like he has been doing, because I think this game is going to be close. I do lean the Dolphins to win this game, cover on the money line, but I think you can grab them live. I'm going to take Will Levis here, and I'm going to do similar what I did on the Thursday Night Football matchup where I took Daniel Jones's pass attempts. I'm taking Will Levis over 29.5 pass attempts, minus 120 odds on FanDuel. This is a really low number. 29.5 is not asking too much, especially when you look at this Titans team. If this game is close, he should be able to get on to this number, and even if they're losing, he should be able to get to this number. So far this year in 3 games, in game 1 against the Bears, Will Levis had 32 pass attempts. Game 2 against the Jets, 28 pass attempts. Last week against Green Bay, 34 pass attempts. So he's gone over this number in 2 of the last 3 games and almost hooking on 1 of the games. I like that. Now, when you look at the Dolphins on the other side, when you look at them defensively and you look at their pass defense, that's really where they might be able to get exploited. Right now, they're about 11th in the country in pass defense. But when you look at it and you look at their body of work, they've played the Jaguars, they've played the Bills, they've played the Seahawks. So yes, Geno Smith is a guy who can throw the ball. So is Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. But those are also teams that are going to look to feature the run way more than they are going to say necessarily look to throw the ball. They have quarterbacks who can beat you, but they know to get the quarterbacks the success that they need or the overall success that this team wants, they have to run the ball. Well, the Titans, do they have a run game? I don't really think they do. Tony Pollard, he has not shown me too much this year that gives me confidence in really being able to take them here in this position. And this is a Miami rush defense that is also 13th in the country. So they have a very strong rush defense as well. So because of that, it's like, hey, are we going to run on them? Are we going to pass on them? And if this team is down, then guess what? I think that the Titans are going to look to throw the ball way more than they're going to look to run the ball. Titans right now have the 22nd worst run offense in the country, only averaging about 101 rushing yards per game. I don't think that's going to get it done today against this Dolphins team. And as a result, I think it's going to lean on Will Levis to have to throw the ball way, way more. With Tyler Huntley taking the snaps for the Dolphins, it does give me confidence that they can win this game and move the ball a lot better than they did under Skylar Thompson. But also, this is an offense that have the weapons like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, but you got to get them the ball. And this is a Titans defense that on the other side, they've kept their team in games. 24 points given up to the Bears, 24 points given up to the Jets. Yes, they gave up 30 points to the Green Bay Packers, but they got it together in the second half, only giving up 10 points in the second half after a 17-point explosion in the first half for the Packers. And that was really because of the fact that Will Levis had a few fumbles and turnovers earlier on that game that got them back into a kind of deficit. So if Will Levis can protect the ball here, I think this Titans defense is good enough to keep this game close enough. They're going to key in on the key players of the Dolphins. That's why I really don't want to take his receptions or receiving yards, even though I do think they're going to force feed him the ball, considering that his last 2 weeks he's gone under these numbers. But Tyler Huntley, new offense, new system. He's also a quarterback that looks to run the ball way more than he looks to pass the ball. I think that we're going to get an ugly matchup here in Miami tonight, and I think that Will Levis is going to get some opportunities to throw the ball. It is a low total, 29.5. I'm taking it as our third and final pick of the day. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. 3 best bets, 3 winners that I'm giving you guys on this Monday Night Football card. Give me the Lions to cover the spread at -3.5 against an untested Seahawks team just so far. We're going to take Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush over 14.5 yards, as the Seahawks have shown themselves to give up big plays on the ground. And then we'll also take Will Levis over 29.5 pass attempts. With the injuries to the Dolphins, I do think that this is a game that the Titans think that they can steal. And if they are going to steal, it's going to happen in the air, not on the ground. But we'll see. Will Levis, even if they are down, I expect him to throw the ball. That's what we're going with on this Monday Night Football game. For more picks and plays that I might add throughout the day, we don't really have any baseball, no WNBA. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll add that in there as well, my friends. So let's get to that money. Let's get to that cheddar. Let me know what picks you're taking in the description below. And as always, dictate your fate, and I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, guys.